I'm Bella, 26 years old, and I worked as a programmer for a tech company that built software for some of the biggest names in IT. I was good at what I did, like, really good. I handled the toughest projects, the ones that paid the most, but only my friends knew this. My family? They couldn't care less about my life. Hadn't talked to them in 8 years. So imagine my surprise when my phone rang one random Tuesday evening. It was my cousin Sarah, the only relative who had my new number. "Hey Bella," she said, sounding nervous, "your parents are looking for you. They want you to come home for Christmas." I nearly dropped my phone. Christmas was 2 months away, and they were looking for me, now? "What do you mean they're looking for me?" I asked, sinking onto my rented apartment's worn couch. "They've been asking around, they really want you there this year." I stared at the ceiling, trying to process this. My parents never tried to find me before. "Okay," I heard myself saying, "tell them I'll be there." After Sarah hung up, I sat there in the quiet of my apartment, and memories started flooding back. I was always the weird kid. The one who couldn't make friends, who'd rather sit in the corner with a book than talk to people. My parents even took me to a psychologist when I was little because they thought something was wrong with me. The psychologist was nice. Dr. Martinez, I think her name was. I was 12 when she had this meeting with my parents. I remembered sitting there, trying to make myself smaller in the chair while she told them straight up, "A lot of Bella's issues stem from emotional rejection. You clearly favor your older son." My parents went nuts. "That's ridiculous," my mom said, "we love both our children equally." But Dr. Martinez was right. I knew it. They knew it. They just didn't want to admit it. My brother Jake was everything I wasn't. Outgoing, popular, the golden child who could do no wrong. He was 3 years older and treated me like I was some annoying bug he couldn't squash. My parents thought the sun shone out of his ass. Even my grandparents, mom's parents, treated us differently. Jake would get these expensive birthday presents, and I'd get some cheap knockoff toy that would break in a week. Family gatherings were the worst. Jake would hold court, telling stories, making everyone laugh, while I'd sit in the corner, invisible. That's when I found programming. There was this after-school computer club, and for the first time in my life, I felt like I belonged somewhere. The other kids there were like me, quiet, focused, more comfortable with machines than people. We became friends, real friends. One of them helped me build my first computer from old parts people had thrown away. I started coding at home, spending hours learning different languages, solving problems. My teacher, Mr. Chen, said I had real talent. When I turned 16, I knew what I wanted to do. I was going to college to become a programmer. Jake had just enrolled in some expensive private college in another state, all paid for by mom and dad. Then came the family dinner that changed everything. All the relatives were there, and Dad made his big announcement. "We're so proud of Jake," he said, raising his glass. "Following his dreams at State University." Everyone clapped, then Mom turned to me. "As for Bella, well, we don't have money for her education. She'll need to get a job after high school." My Uncle Frank laughed, "Hey, I could use a dishwasher at my cafe." Everyone thought that was hilarious, even my parents laughed. I sat there, feeling my face burn, saying nothing. The day after graduation, Mom knocked on my bedroom door. "You need to start looking for work," she said, "and honestly, it might be better if you found your own place." "I'm already leaving," I told her. What they didn't know was that I'd already been accepted to a top computer science program on a full scholarship. Free dorm, free tuition, everything covered because of my grades and test scores. But I didn't tell them. Why bother? I packed my stuff and crashed at my friend Lisa's house for a few weeks before college started. Got a job at a local cafe, not Uncle Frank's, thank you very much, to save up some money. Then I moved to a different state for college. For years of hard work, late nights, and countless coding projects later, I graduated at the top of my class. A tech company recruited me straight out of school. They started me on complex projects immediately, and the pay was insane compared to what most new grads were making. Now, 4 years later, I was one of their best programmers. I worked on the projects nobody else could handle. My salary and bonuses were impressive. And there I was, about to go back to the people who couldn't wait to get rid of me. 2 weeks passed in a blur. I finished my latest project, a massive system integration that we sold to one of the tech giants. The company made bank, and my bonus was huge, like, buy a house huge. I called a realtor. Within days, she found me the perfect apartment. 2 bedrooms, modern kitchen, great neighborhood. At 26, I was a homeowner. I threw a small housewarming party 2 weeks before Christmas. Just my real friends, the ones who actually knew me and cared about me. As we sat around my new living room, drinking wine and eating takeout, Lisa raised her glass to Bella, who proved them all wrong. We clinked glasses, and I smiled. In a week, I'd be facing my family again. But this time, I wasn't that scared little girl anymore. This time, I knew exactly who I was and what I was worth. The week before Christmas, I took time off work and packed my bags. I'd bought presents for everyone, nice stuff, but nothing too flashy. Didn't want to make it obvious how well I was doing. The drive to my parents' house took 6 hours. As I pulled up to the old 2-story colonial, I noticed how rundown it looked. The paint was peeling, the gutters were sagging, and the front steps needed repair. 8 years had not been kind to this place. I parked my car and grabbed my suitcase and the gift bags. My hands shook a little as I rang the doorbell. Footsteps approached, and then the door swung open. Mom stood there, squinting at me like she was trying to place my face. Then recognition dawned. "Bella, oh my God, is that really you?" She pulled me into an awkward hug. "You look different." I stepped inside, and immediately, the familiar smell hit me, that combination of old carpet and Mom's potpourri that I'd never forgotten. The living room was crowded with relatives, and conversations died as they noticed me. "Look who decided to show up," someone whispered. "Is she wearing pajamas?" another voice muttered. I glanced down at my outfit, designer jeans and a simple black sweater. Expensive stuff, but understated. To them, I probably looked like I'd just rolled out of bed. Mom led me into the living room. "Everyone, Bella's here." The relatives gave me these fake smiles and half-hearted waves. Nothing had changed. Then Jake's voice boomed from the kitchen. Well, look what the cat dragged in." He strutted into the room with his arm around a pregnant woman. "This is Ashley, my wife," Jake announced proudly. "And this," he patted her belly, "is going to be your niece or nephew." "Congratulations," I said. Jake looked me up and down. "So, what are you doing these days? Still hiding in corners, avoiding people?" Some of the relatives chuckled. I felt my face get hot. "I work in tech," I said simply. "Tech, huh, like, fixing computers? Tech support?" He turned to Ashley. Bella was always the antisocial one. "Probably works in some basement somewhere." I just nodded, something like that. Mom clapped her hands. "Well, dinner will be ready soon. Bella, why don't you put your things away? Jake's using your old room for his office now, so you'll be sleeping on the couch." Of course he was, of course I would be. Throughout the evening, relatives kept approaching me with their passive-aggressive comments. Aunt Helen cornered me by the punch bowl. "Your brother's starting his own business, you know. Such an entrepreneur." "And what is it you do again?" "I write code," I said. She wrinkled her nose. "Oh, well, someone has to do the boring jobs, I suppose." Uncle Frank sidled up next to me during dinner prep. "That dishwashing position is still open at my restaurant. Pays minimum wage, but it's honest work." "Thanks, but I'm good," I replied. At dinner, they sat me at the far end of the table, practically in the kitchen. Jake held court at the center, talking about his grand business plans. "It's going to revolutionize the industry," he was saying. "Just need to secure some initial funding, and we'll be off to the races." How much do you need? Dad asked. About 200 grand to start. I nearly choked on my water. $200,000 for a business plan that sounded like every failed startup I'd ever heard of. We'll figure something out, Mom said, patting Jake's hand. Family helps family. After dinner, as people started leaving, Mom showed me to the couch. I lay there in the dark living room, staring at the ceiling. Christmas morning arrived with Jake and Ashley thundering down the stairs like excited kids. Mom and Dad were already up, making coffee. Present time, Jake announced. We gathered around the tree. I watched as they opened my gifts, a nice watch for Dad, a designer purse for Mom, high-end baby stuff for Jake and Ashley. Oh, these are lovely, Mom said, examining the purse. Must have cost you a fortune. Not really, I said. Finally, all the presents were opened except mine. I looked around expectantly. Mom's face fell into this exaggerated expression of shock. Oh no, Bella, we completely forgot to get you something. Jake burst out laughing, just like when we were kids. Remember how you used to cry about it? Ashley giggled, Dad chuckled, they were all laughing at me. Yeah, Jake continued, don't start blubbering now. You're supposed to be an adult. I felt something shift inside me. Not sadness, not hurt, just clarity. I'm not going to cry, I said calmly. I reached for my purse. Actually, I just bought myself a pretty nice gift. I pulled out my keys and held them up. The silver keychain caught the morning light. Mom frowned, what's that supposed to be? Keys, I said, to my new apartment. I bought it last week. The room went dead silent. You bought an apartment? Dad said slowly. How? With money, I replied, from my job. My company just sold a system I developed to a major tech corporation. My cut was pretty good. How good? Mom asked, her voice sharp. I shrugged, about $150,000. You could have heard a pin drop. Jake's mouth hung open, Ashley's eyes were huge. Mom and Dad looked like I'd just told them I was secretly a millionaire. $150,000, Mom repeated, her voice climbing higher with each word. What kind of job pays bonuses like that? I told you, I said calmly, I'm a programmer. I work on complex projects for major tech companies. I develop systems for Fortune 500 companies. Dad leaned forward in his chair. How long have you been making this kind of money? Since I graduated college. The bonuses vary, but my salary's been 6 figures for years now. Mom stood up and walked over to me, suddenly all smiles. Sweetie, why didn't you tell us sooner? We're so proud of you. The change was instant, like someone had flipped a switch. Yes, our daughter the programmer, Dad chimed in. Jake, did you hear that? Your sister works with Fortune 500 companies. Jake glared at me. Ashley tugged at his sleeve, whispering something. So, Mom continued, sitting down next to me on the couch, tell us about this apartment of yours. How many bedrooms? 2 bedrooms, 2 baths, it's in a good neighborhood, close to work. That's wonderful, she patted my knee. You know, we should visit sometime. Family should stick together. I almost laughed, family should stick together? They hadn't bothered to find my phone number for 8 years. Actually, I said, standing up, I should get going, long drive home. No, Mom grabbed my arm, you just got here. Stay a few more days. We have so much catching up to do. Dad nodded enthusiastically, your mother's right. We barely got to talk about your career. I looked at them, these people who couldn't wait to get rid of me 8 years ago, and went to gather my things. As I packed, I could hear them whispering urgently in the living room. When I came back with my suitcase, they were all standing there with these desperate smiles. Before you go, Dad said, we should talk about Jake's business opportunity. As your brother mentioned, he needs some startup capital. And since you're doing so well. Jake stepped forward, it's a solid investment. You'd be getting in on the ground floor. How much? I asked. Just 200,000, he said, with your income, that's nothing, right? I looked at these people. My parents, who'd laughed when Uncle Frank offered me a dishwashing job. My brother, who'd mocked me my entire life. His wife, who'd giggled along with everyone else just this morning. No, I said, the smiles vanished. What do you mean, no? Mom demanded. I mean no, I'm not giving you any money. But we're family, Dad said, family helps family. Really? I said, where was family when you told me to get a job washing dishes? Where was family when you said I had to move out the day after high school? That was different, Mom said, we didn't have money then. You had money for Jake's college, I pointed out. Jake showed promise, she snapped. Then caught herself, I mean, we thought you'd be better off working. Right, I said, well, I need to go. You selfish bastard, Jake exploded. After everything this family did for you. What exactly did you do for me? I asked. We raised you, Mom said, fed you, clothed you, put a roof over your head. The bare minimum, I said. And you made sure I knew I was unwanted every single day. I walked to the door, suitcase in hand, they followed me, still arguing. You'll regret this, Mom called after me, when you need us, don't come crying back. I won't, I said, and meant it. I drove away from that house and didn't look back. My phone started ringing before I even hit the highway. Mom, Dad, Jake, I declined every call. Then the text started. Mom, please reconsider, Jake really needs this opportunity. Dad, don't be stubborn, this is about family. Jake, you owe us, think about all we sacrificed for you. I pulled over at a rest stop and blocked all their numbers. When I got home to my new apartment, I poured myself a glass of wine and sat on my balcony. The city lights twinkled below, my phone buzzed, it was Sarah, heard what happened, sorry about them. I texted back, don't be, this is the best Christmas gift they could have given me. Freedom from feeling guilty about cutting them off. She sent back a laughing emoji, your mom's already telling everyone you're selfish and ungrateful. Let her, I replied. That night, I slept better than I had in weeks. My own bed, in my own apartment, with no more obligation to people who never wanted me in the first place. The next morning, I woke up to a flood of messages. But not from blocked numbers, these were from aunts, uncles, cousins I barely knew. Your mother told us what happened, how could you abandon your family? Jake is trying to build something, you should support him. We always knew you were selfish. One by one, I blocked them all, except Sarah. She called me that afternoon. Jesus, Bella, the whole family's going crazy. Your mom's called everyone telling them you're rich and won't help Jake. Good for her, I said. They're saying you've forgotten where you came from. Of course they are, I sighed. Can't accept that the daughter they ignored might actually be successful. I'm proud of you, Sarah said quietly, for what it's worth. It's worth a lot, I told her, you're the only family I want to keep in touch with. Are you really okay with cutting everyone else off? She asked. Sarah, I said, I cut them off 8 years ago, this is just making it official. That evening, I met up with my friends at our usual wine bar. I told them everything. Good riddance, Lisa said, they sound toxic as hell. Are you going to miss them at all? Another friend asked. I thought about it, you know what? I don't think I will. I think I've been mourning the family I never had for years, this just finishes it. I raised my glass, to chosen family. To chosen family, they echoed. As we clinked glasses, my phone buzzed. An unknown number. I knew it was them, finding new ways to reach me. I switched it to silent and focused on the people who actually cared about me. 6 months had passed since that Christmas disaster, and my life had never been better. Summer was in full swing, and I was sitting on my balcony with my morning coffee, watching the city wake up below. The past half-year felt like emerging from a fog I hadn't even realized I'd been living in. Sarah called me about once a week with family updates. Not because I asked, but because she knew I'd want to know if anything actually important happened. Mostly, it was the same old drama with new variations. Jake's daughter was born last month, she told me during our most recent call. They named her Madison. That's nice, I said, and I meant it. I hoped that little girl would have a better childhood than I did. According to Sarah, Jake and Ashley were still living with my parents. The big entrepreneurial dream hadn't materialized. Shocking, I know. He kept talking about his business plans at family gatherings, but now the relatives were getting tired of hearing about it. Without any actual progress to show, even his biggest supporters were starting to ask uncomfortable questions. My parents had apparently turned my betrayal into their favorite sob story. At every family event, they'd tell anyone who'd listen about their ungrateful daughter who abandoned them despite all their sacrifices. Meanwhile, my life had taken some beautiful turns. 3 months after Christmas, I met Nathan at a coffee shop. He was a graphic designer, understood my work, and most importantly, understood why I'd cut ties with my toxic family. He had his own history with difficult relatives. Work was going amazingly too. I'd been promoted to lead architect for our new AI integration project. The salary bump was nice, but honestly, I was more excited about the technical challenges. My team respected me, my boss valued my input, and I was building things that mattered. Sometimes I'd think about telling my parents about the promotion, about Nathan, about the patents I'd filed. Then I'd remember their laughter when Uncle Frank offered me that dishwashing job, and the impulse would pass. The last real contact attempt from my family had been about a month ago. Jake had somehow gotten a new number and called me directly. "Hey, sis," he'd said, trying to sound casual, "was thinking we should catch up." "What do you want, Jake?" He'd cleared his throat. "Look, I know things got heated at Christmas, but we're family. Madison would love to meet her aunt." "You mean your daughter needs a rich aunt?" "That's not, okay, fine, things are tough right now. Ashley's not working because of the baby, and Mom and Dad's house needs repairs they can't afford. Just a small loan would help." "No. You don't even know how much." "Doesn't matter, the answer is still no." He'd exploded then, calling me every name he could think of before I hung up and blocked that number too. The irony wasn't lost on me. I'd grown up feeling like an outsider in my own family, convinced something was wrong with me. Now I had a job I loved, friends who appreciated me, a boyfriend who understood me, and my own beautiful home. All the things my family said I'd never have because I was too weird or too antisocial. My success wasn't just financial, though that was nice too. It was emotional. I'd built a life surrounded by people who actually liked me for who I was, not who they wanted me to be. Sarah told me that my old bedroom, Jake's office, was being turned into a nursery for Madison. My childhood space was being erased, but it didn't hurt like I thought it would. That room had never really been mine anyway, just like that house had never really been my home. My real home was here, where I decorated every wall myself, where my friends gathered for movie nights, where Nathan and I spent lazy Sunday mornings coding together on the couch. This was the life I'd built, piece by piece, while my family was busy telling me I'd never amount to anything. Sometimes they still tried to reach me through flying monkeys, distant relatives or family friends who thought they could guilt me into being reasonable. My favorite was when Aunt Helen left me a voicemail saying, "Family is forever, Bella, you can't just walk away." But I already had walked away. And every day that passed, I knew I'd made the right choice. Nathan and I were planning a trip to Japan next month. We'd been learning the language together, researching restaurants, mapping out which temples to visit. When I posted a photo of our travel books on social media, Sarah mentioned that Mom had seen it through a cousin's account. "She says it's typical of you to spend money on vacations instead of helping family," Sarah reported. "Good," I said, "maybe someday they'll realize I'm never coming back." Last week, my boss called me into his office. Another promotion was coming, this time to head the entire engineering department. The salary would put me firmly in the top 1% of earners my age. "You've earned this," he said, "your work speaks for itself." I called Nathan, then my friends. We went out to celebrate at this great sushi place, toasting to new beginnings and chosen families. Lisa made a joke about my parents probably sensing a disturbance in the force every time my bank account grew. They can sense all they want, I said, they're not getting a penny. That night, Nathan and I sat on my balcony, looking out at the city lights. He'd brought over a bottle of champagne to celebrate my promotion privately. You know what I love about us, he said. We're building something real. Not just dreaming about it like your brother. Speaking of building, I said, I've been thinking about buying a house. Something with a yard, maybe a home office. Sounds perfect, as long as it has good internet for our coding sessions. We clinked glasses and started discussing neighborhoods, house features, maybe even getting a dog. It was exactly the kind of future planning I'd never been able to do with my birth family, who'd only ever seen me as a burden or, later, as a bank account. My phone buzzed with a text from Sarah, your mom's telling everyone you're probably a drug dealer. That's why you have so much money but won't help family. I showed it to Nathan, and we both laughed. Should I tell them the truth? I asked. That I'm successful because I worked hard while they were busy playing favorites? Why bother, he said, they'll believe what they want to believe. He was right, my family had written their own story about me long ago, the weird kid, the antisocial daughter, the selfish sister. The truth didn't fit their narrative, so they rejected it. But I had my own story now. One where the weird kid became a respected engineer. Where the antisocial daughter found her people. Where the selfish sister learned that putting yourself first isn't selfish when the alternative is letting toxic people drain you dry.